Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more History Matters, and this time we are asking the question, why did Britain lose Hanover? Short animated documentary. My guess is a concession for the I think Napoleon. Napoleon is my answer, and that's what I'm going to stick with. Not going to elaborate any further than that. Napoleon Bonaparte. Let's go ahead and dive in and see if I'm close in any stretch of the word or fucking whatever.
When King James VI of Scotland inherited the English throne, he made it his top priority to unify the two kingdoms into one entity. He failed, but his descendant, Queen Anne, would be the one to succeed when in 1707 the Act of Union created the Kingdom of Great Britain. In
Women.
1801 there would be a second unification with Ireland to create the United Kingdom. This was undertaken by King George III, who wanted to stop Ireland from drifting away. Yet, as this act was being
Remember Ireland, you're here forever, or for like 122 years if that's more to your liking. Signed, Conning.
drafted, George was also the ruler of another state, the Kingdom of Hanover, located here in what's now Germany. And despite Britain and Hanover sharing the same rulers for over 120 years, the two never unified. Which raises the question, why? Why didn't Hanover join the United Kingdom, and why did the two eventually go their separate ways? So first, a bit of background. In 1714, when Queen Anne, who had no heirs, opted out of living, the British throne passed to her closest Protestant relative, George I, the Elector of Hanover. He swiftly moved to Britain because that's where the money and the power were, and the two kingdoms were thereafter run separately but with the unified foreign policy. From the beginning, though, the two domains were seen as very separate entities by both sides. Hanoverian culture was very different to Britain's, and there was very little in the way of shared history between them in the same way that England and Scotland had. Furthermore, from the perspective of Hanover, the electors leaving the country and running it mostly from London meant that local leaders felt that it had largely been reduced to a British puppet state. And in Britain, leaders there didn't exactly have high opinions of Hanover either. It was seen as an autocratic liability, since it had previous disputes with Sweden, France and Prussia that Britain would now have to take a side in. Furthermore, George I and II were largely disliked in Britain since they were seen as being too foreign and too fond of Hanover. George III had the opposite problem, and despite reigning for ever, he never visited Hanover. And it was during his reign that the electorate of Hanover was conquered and disestablished
Napoleon! I'm partially correct.
by Napoleon. And after his defeat, there was a lot of opposition in Hanover to the restoration of the British monarchy there. In the end, though, George's representatives won out, and not only was Hanover enlarged, but it was also made a kingdom with George as its first monarch.
Okay, not Napoleon. Damn it, I was wrong.
Although not long after this, his son would succeed him as George IV. So with the same king in charge of the two states, was there any formal attempt to unite the two? Nope, and the reason for this was that Britain was a quickly liberalising country with established limits on royal and noble power, whereas Hanover was not. And in the wake of the Napoleonic Wars, few European nations were in favour of such liberalising movements. Many Hanoverians felt that they were German and wished to distance themselves from British meddling, and during the reign of William IV, the rift between the two nations grew. British Prime Minister the Earl Grey pressured the king to force Hanover to implement liberal reforms. These were rejected, and to many it became clear that now the union was dead because William didn't have any children. And as such, the nation's different succession laws would see different monarchs succeed the throne. In Britain, the throne would pass to Victoria, and in Hanover it would pass to Ernest Augustus because under Salic law, no girls allowed. And so, in 1837, when William died, the two kingdoms went their own separate ways. The British were by and large glad that Hanover wasn't their problem anymore, and the Hanoverians were glad that they could finally pursue their own destiny without foreign interference, something which they would proudly do for 29 whole years before being conquered by Prussia. And British influence there would be forever gone, barring its occupation by them in the wake of the Second World War. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Love that little bit there at the end. British came back for a brief period after the Second World War. Oh, that's pretty neat. Kind of funny too. And that was why Britain lost Hanover. I was entirely wrong. It was not Napoleon. Napoleon really didn't have anything to do with it because the British just came back and enlarged Hanover. It was just a woman being the heir to the British Empire that caused Hanover to no longer be a part of Britain. Well, maybe the British and Prussians would have fought over it. Or maybe there would have been some rioting and then the British would have been just like, okay, you can have it or something. Or maybe they would have just given it up for some trade concessions or something. Who knows? We're getting into what if territory. It was a good episode. It's not my favorite from History Matters. It's decent. There really wasn't, I feel like there wasn't much to this question to really get into in other videos of theirs that they have done. But still entertaining. Still got some good comedy. Made me chuckle. Made me go ha ha a few times. I hope you guys enjoyed as well as I did. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.